this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, I guess you've heard by now, it's been all over social media for the last few days, the young man on the screen who met with a very untimely and very unpleasant demise at the hands of his companion of choice. Now, this is a devastating thing for any family to have to deal with. And you compound that with very mean-spirited and offensive remarks that he made against Black Americans, especially Black women, during his lifetime. And you have a very critical situation to deal with. His name is Christian Toby Obumseli. He is a Nigerian immigrant. He may have been born in the United States, but his parents came here as Nigerian immigrants. And it is a recurring theme with Nigerians that they come to the United States and posture themselves against Black Americans. Now, we're at home, minding our business, didn't send for them, didn't capture them and force them to come here, but they come here and decide that they don't like Black Americans. So from the time he was very young, he has been on social media expounding his dislike, disdain for Black Americans, especially Black American women. Now, there is no evidence that any Black American has done anything to him or against him. This is something that he felt within himself. It is also said by many Nigerians that their parents do teach them against African Americans. And they have this little nasty slur that I'm not going to repeat because it's not even important, but they posture themselves against us as enemies. So I'm entitling this video, Making Enemies of Those That Mean You No Harm. Now, certainly it's not all Nigerians, but it's enough of them that do this for it to be noticeable. And he was definitely one of them. To summarize the situation before I get into what I really think, this young man was involved with the lady on the left. They were living in a high-rise luxury apartment, apparently, in Miami. They had some type of an altercation, and he ends up, she put his lights out. She put his lights out, and it was very brutal, and she then called for the Baker Act. The Baker Act is something that they have in Florida, where if you do something like that, you can claim mental illness, and then you get evaluated for 3 days, I believe it's 72 hours. And then they make a determination. Not only did she call for the Baker Act, saying that she had gone through some type of a mental situation, but she also said it was self-defense. Now, this is a young white woman that she has white privilege, yes. I'm not going to be one to jump the gun and say, well, she just woke up one day and decided that I can do this to him because I'm white and I have white privilege and I know I can get away with it. I don't believe she did that. I believe something happened, and I don't believe that she's totally guilty and he's totally innocent. And when you consider that he was willing to go after Black American women in a very mean-spirited and hateful way for years. They say he started it in 2014, and as late as 2018, he was still saying negative things about Black women and or Black people. So a person who can gender up that kind of hatred for somebody who, again, nobody knows anything that any Black person has done to him. So if he has that kind of venom against people who have done nothing to him, and he's in a relationship with a woman, and we know how relationships can go. No matter how lovely they are, you have your rough moments. What would make anybody think that he had done something? And according to her friends, he certainly had done something. But regardless to what happened, it's a devastating loss for the family, and they are grieving. And I have seen them in interviews trying to do press conferences or trying to talk to the public about what happened, and you can tell that they're in pain. So that's something that he has put on his family. Now they are in the very awkward and uncomfortable position of asking for the very people that he insulted in his lifetime to advocate for him. Now, the irony of that is that if he had just come here and used good manners and treated people with respect and kept his thoughts to himself, because nobody cares who you like or who you don't like. Everybody keeps telling young people in particular, don't put this information on social media because it follows you. And so there's no point in people telling you, well, he was only 12 or he was only 3 months old when he did it. It doesn't matter. It's still out there and it's still hurtful. And black women, we just keep getting it over and over and over again and don't even know why. Toby played a fool's hand because these women that he's talking about now, black women, would be, his family wouldn't even have to ask black people to advocate for him, especially black women. All they would have to know was that it happened. Somebody said, well, you're just upset because you like white women. And that's just a very simplistic and childish way to look at things. You're disparaging people for no reason. Black women would have been his friend. And black women would be out there in the streets. They'd be down at that police department. They'd be calling for town hall meetings. They'd be advocating for him. And the one woman that did confront her looked like a black American woman. And she basically ran her out of the bar, out of the hotel lobby or wherever she was. That black woman actually took her on. But his family asked for the community to support him. And I know they're talking about the Miami community and the community of black people because Lee Merritt, who works with Ben Crump, actually gave a statement about it, so that means they must have contacted them as well. But a large collective of black Americans are saying, no, we're not going to advocate for him. We're going to give him the same treatment in death that he gave us in life. This man has been able to get a kind of negative reaction from the black American community that I have never seen before. Because when something happens to a black person, black people will rally around that family. It doesn't matter where they came from. When Amadou Diallo, who was an immigrant from Guinea, was gunned down by the New York City Police Department, black people all over the country rallied around that family. When his mother came to New York City, grieving over her son, the black community rallied around her and embraced her. She was beautiful and she was gracious. When Abner Louima, I think that was his name, a Haitian immigrant, met with an unfortunate situation with the police department, black people rallied around him as well. Every time something happens to a black person, black Americans will come to your aid. We have always done that. And if you come here as an African descended person, you are black. If you don't want to be black, don't come to the United States, because that's what you're going to be. But when something happens, we support the families. We rally around the family and embrace the family. And this is the first time I have ever seen black people just blatantly in large numbers come out and said, we are not going to support you. Now that's sad to me. That's sad. But black people, men and women, have turned a cold shoulder to this family. And it's kind of sad to see. Young black Americans are making TikTok videos. They're making YouTube videos. They're responding to articles concerning this matter in a very hostile and negative way. We are not going to support you. And they're showing irritation to the black Americans who are supporting the family. It takes a lot for black women to turn on a family of black people where something like this has happened to a family member. It takes a lot for black women to do that. And it's unnecessary. It is the epitome of stupidity to go out and make enemies of people who mean you no harm. You don't know who you're going to need in your lifetime. So to go out and unnecessarily make enemies is just plain dumb. Black Americans don't have any kind of real relationship with Nigerians. We don't know anything about them. Their parents teach them things about black Americans and their lies or stereotypes because they don't know anything about us. But according to the Nigerians themselves, their parents teach them very negative things about black Americans. So for many, when they come to the United States, they want to elevate themselves over us and assimilate into white society. And that seems to be what he did. And if you try to tell them how this country is really run, they don't want to hear anything you have to say. So they pretty much have to learn the hard way. He especially went after Black American women. But he had a disdain for Black American people. And he had tweet after tweet after tweet. He did not believe in Black Lives Matter. When Colin Kaepernick was protesting, he basically said, I don't agree with that. He needs to get on with playing football. And he also said that when white people made jokes about Black people, he was not at all offended by it because he didn't see himself as a Black person. He's a Nigerian. So they identify with their tribe. That's fine. But when you come to the United States of America, you can be in any tribe you want to. When you look like he looked, there's still a particular kind of identification you have, whether you claim it or not. So that was what he did. He was just going on and on and on about his dislike for Black people, how ignorant Black people are, how he is not attracted to Black women. He just had something to say about everything. And it wasn't one tweet or two. It went on for years. And he went on about his life, pretending to be a rich Nigerian, which he wasn't, and pretending that he's living this great American dream, which he probably wasn't. This man's life was a study in contradiction. He mocked African American women's character and behavior all the time, intimately involved with a woman who is exposing her body to a paying public for money. He's running around trying to act like he's rich, going to all these exotic vacations and things like that. But his family had to create a GoFundMe to transport his remains to whatever location they wanted him. So he was just a phony and a fraud. And he's left his family to have to pick up the pieces behind him and try to give a face of dignity to who he was. So here's the takeaway. This man, this young man, made enemies of people that really didn't mean him any harm, especially Black women. Black women like me, and Black women would have been all in his face, flirting and flouncing around. Oh, that's not my type. I don't like them. I don't this and they ratchet. All of these negatives that he had applied to Black women. African immigrants and Nigerians in particular need to understand if they're going to live in the United States, they're going to live here with us. We're not going anywhere. And if they can't stand Black Americans, if they don't like what we stand for, then they need to immigrate somewhere else. They need to go somewhere else because we have agency here. We have skin in the game and we are stakeholders in this country from the foundation of this country. So if they don't like us, if they get here and find out that they don't like us and they don't want to deal with us, then they need to get their ass on the plane and go back across that ocean. That's what they need to do. And just as a sidebar, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who came here as a refugee from Somalia, is in the United States Congress. She's always complaining about something or confronting somebody about something. A few days ago, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky apparently had had enough, and he told her, we brought you here from a refugee camp in Somalia. We gave you food stamps and welfare and somewhere to stay. Now, if America is so bad and so awful, then maybe you need to go back where you came from. Now, a person shouldn't have to say that to you. And I really like her. I paraphrased it, but that's what he said in a nutshell. I do like her. She's smart and she's got courage. But he shouldn't have had to say that to her. So African immigrants are the only ones who come here with the attitude that things need to go the way I want them to go. People come here from Europe, they come here from Asia, they come here from Latin America, South America, the Caribbean. You don't hear this kind of complaining from anybody but Africans. So they really need to rethink whether or not they need to go to another country or whether they should stay in their own country and make that country what they want it to be. Well, anyway, this is what happened to this young man. His family is devastated, naturally, and they're in the awkward position of trying to get people that he insulted in life to care about what has happened to him in death. They went on to speak about his grandmother, who's 93 years old. I guess she's still in Nigeria, and was looking forward to him coming to visit her this summer. And now they got to figure out how to tell her that he won't be able to come. And I have to reflect on the fact that this is just the kind of thing that Black American women would jump right on. And they would get some results. If Black people in Florida got cranked up just right, they would get some results, because the family is saying that the police department is being tight-lipped, not telling them anything, treating them like they're being a nuisance. But if Black people got cranked up just right down there, they would tell them something. And they deserve to know something. They know what happened, or they have a pretty good idea what happened. And I honestly don't know what the legal protocol is in a situation like this, but it just seems like they could at least talk to the family and give the family some kind of answers. And that will help some. They give them some kind of answers. But these are the seeds that he planted. He planted seeds of discord. And that's what's coming up. Even so, I extend my deepest sympathy to this family. They're experiencing heartbreak that's never going to heal. Regardless of what Black women think and Black people think, that's their son, their brother, their cousin, and they love him. It's bad enough when somebody just lays down and dies. But for something like this to happen to somebody you care about, it's absolutely devastating. So in spite of everything, my prayers are with this family. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.